All Century 21 real estate offices are independently owned and operated.
This is the Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate. Good morning. I'm Jackie Ruddy, broker, and with Pat Devaney, my husband, fellow realtor. How are you today?
Very good. How are you?
Excellent. We have with us back on our show this week, William Kelly, certified residential appraiser with Jack Ruddy Appraisal Services.
Good morning, Jackie. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Thanks for being here with us. We are here every Saturday at 11 a.m., Sunday at 11:30 a.m., where we talk real estate. We have an exceptional real estate office with many remarkable realtors who've been guiding, assisting, and advising clients in real estate matters for 50 plus years.
During the week, feel free to email us with any questions you have at questions@jruddy.com. That's questions@jruddy.com. Or you can give us a call at 570-344-6724. And when you go to jruddy.com, click on the webcam tab. It's always interesting. We get hits from all over the world on that camera. Thousands of hits a month on it. And you get a live view of Dunmore Corners and see what's going on.
Yes. If you're an insomniac, some very interesting things happen in the middle of the night at Dunmore Corners. Oh,
yeah, we do. We have. And I was coming back from Caramias, and my friend from Brooklyn calls on the phone. He goes, "What did you get for lunch?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" He says, "I saw you coming back on the camera." That's
Yeah.
Bobby and Regina, yeah.
Hi to Bobby and Regina, who often tune into our program. Look us up on social media. View our listings, search the MLS listings, and listen to archive radio shows by going to mobile-friendly jruddy.com. That's JRUDDY.com, where we also have many of the podcast apps that we feature our radio program on. Okay, William Kelly, certified residential appraiser with Jack Ruddy Appraisal Services. How long have you been appraising? Where do you go? What and how do you do it? Please.
I've been a licensed appraiser since 2013, so it's been 9 years. And I've been a trainee for 15 years prior to that. I do serve Lackawanna, Luzerne, Monroe, Pike, Carbon, and Wayne counties doing appraisals for many purposes. I'll do them for lending. I can do them for personal reasons, whether it's a divorce, an estate, settlement of any type of a family dispute, whatever you need an appraisal for, I can provide that service. And you could reach me at wkelly312@comcast.net or at 570-471-3204 and also at 570-344-6724.
Excellent. So years ago, we had these auctioneers who came in.
Yes, Savos.
The Savos, yes.
Right.
And they had a radio show as well. And they used to have free appraisal, I think it was Monday, right?
Yes, it was.
Well, people would call our office and say we were offering free appraisals. Let us make a point right here and right now. We're not offering free appraisals.
Of the listed counties that I noted, I do not offer free appraisals
Right.
at
No,
this
no.
time.
Oh,
That's not
okay.
free
Not on
appraisal
Monday.
No, not on any day.
We don't do free appraisal Monday. Wish we did, but we don't. So, okay. We got that out of the way. Last week, we talked about many different things in terms of the certified residential appraisal process. Not everybody can do an appraisal. You have to have a license. It's different than a real estate sales license. So you've been schooled, you've trained for a long time, and you've been doing it actually on your own since 2013. So you've got a lot of experience and knowledge. Last week, we talked about the different prices that you charge for a single-family residential appraisal as opposed to a multi-unit dwelling. Those are a little bit more expensive because there's more units. That's pretty obvious, right? So it's a 30-plus page report. Takes you about 8 to 10 hours on each appraisal. Would you say that's a good?
That's fair. That's average.
Okay.
Right. So if you go now, I'm going to buy a home and say the agreed price is $200,000, and you go and you give the appraisal, the bank is going to depend on the value that you put on it. So if, say you put a value of $190 on that, what happens then?
Well, that's more of a real estate question than an appraisal question, but I would have to imagine that both the buyer and seller must come to terms to see if that $190 will work for that property, or I guess the bank or the AMC who is representing the bank and engaging the appraiser can contact the appraiser to reconsider new sales to try to support the actual sales price.
Yeah, we call that contesting the appraisal. And so that's not always easy to do. And, you're here to inform the listener that you are not the bad boogeyman the enemy that everybody thinks that you are. But this has been a very trying time the last 2 years because we've seen such an increase in values in different areas in our local marketplace. And so when you do an appraisal, it's based on the history of sales. So when we see 20 multiple offers and the price has just gone through the roof, there have been many, many problems when it comes to the appraisal. So is it any wonder that most sellers would accept offers that waived all these contingencies?
Absolutely. I want a cash offer. I don't want to have to wait for somebody to put a reasonable value on my property. I want an emotional price. That's what I want. As a seller.
Yeah, but see, so what's happening then, right? So all these contingencies that are in place to protect the buyer, right, from overpaying, they've been waived. So what do you see happening in the future if the market shifts and adjusts?
Well,
people are going to be in trouble.
Yeah, I guess you would think so. I mean, utilizing the mortgage inside the home has been an American tradition for a long time. We can utilize it with a home equity. We could borrow against equity. And if there's no equity or negative equity in it, as a homeowner, my hands, your hands, whoever has that home are going to be tied, and they can't support any life moves they have to make relying on that particular pile of money.
All right, so let's talk about adding value to a property in terms of, from your perspective, an appraiser's perspective. What adds value? Last week we talked about finished lower level that doesn't have a means of ingress or egress. It's below grade. Can't use it in the gross living area square footage. So what actually adds value from your perspective?
Well, that basement does add value. It's just added in a different line and at a different rate versus the GLA.
How much difference?
It's generally nowadays on a home, it's probably about 50% per square foot. So if you were adjusting GLA at $30 a square foot versus the would-be comparables, you would probably adjust the basement at maybe $15 per square foot. So about 50% of the above space, GLA.
Okay. So what adds value? What can a homeowner do to add value?
Well, they can do multiple things, but small things like you just spoke of earlier, when people are putting cash offers in and they're buying properties for higher than what they actually a CMA would produce, I think you change the market a little bit that way. But things that add value are amenities like an in-ground pool, central air conditioning, anything that's updated and accounted for in the last 5 or 10 years versus the would-be competition. I believe that the appraisal practice was written on like matched pairs, and the best way to describe that around here is there's really not a lot of them, but if you know where there's a townhouse development, you'll see that everything is kind of common. So if you have a fireplace, you're going to net a little bit more on that sale. Or if you've closed in your patio on the back versus everybody else's patio not closed in, you'll net a little bit more on that sale. But in the Lackawanna County marketing area, which your office is located, there's not many matched pairs, so it's hard to actually say what adds value.
Well, a new kitchen would absolutely add value, right? How about a garage if I didn't have a garage and I built a garage? That adds big value for a guy like me. See, I don't jump in pools. I like the garages.
But versus construction, these garages are only adjusting out on an existing home. Taking new construction out, they're only adjusting at $4,000 or $5,000 a bay.
Really?
It's going to cost you a whole lot more to build that
That's
garage
it?
in the backyard. That's it.
Wow. See, in my mind, it's got more value than that.
Right. Well, especially if you're going to pay for it, you'll know that.
Right,
because
right.
they're probably building them at $10,000 a bay. But they're not bringing all that back in on the sale.
So how do you, as an appraiser, view a property that has electric heat versus gas?
It's not that big of a difference. There's really no need for an adjustment there. That's going to be buyer is preference. Some people don't like.
So you
electric heat.
don't adjust for it. How about oil?
No, nothing really there. No, it's more about whether it has central air or not is going to be the really only deciding factor on that line on the appraisal.
So how about ductless versus
Ductless
central?
brings a little bit of money. It's definitely up. That's half the way of the adjustment of a central air. In a house.
Hardwood floors versus wall to wall. Nothing.
Doesn't get represented. It's somewhere hidden in a word we used to use in real estate called appeal. Or maybe it would be there if your home is full of hardwood floors and tile floors and ornate moldings. Maybe the appraiser would come in and put your home in a category of Q2 quality, which is a better level of quality versus the market. Then you would reap the rewards. But just having one or two of them items might not deem that particular feature necessary.
Vinyl siding versus wood siding.
No difference.
Brick. A fully four-sided brick property.
Yeah, that's going to be desired by the buyer, and that's going to be adjusted for.
Okay. And so a master bathroom opposed to not having a master bathroom or a walk-in closet. No, nothing?
Not a lot there.
No.
Bath count in general, I mean, the size of the home, the amount of the bedrooms, then the bath count has got a complementary with that, right? Whether it's a master or not doesn't really seem to have that big of an impact on the market.
A finished third floor, walk-up third floor, finished with wood floors, bathroom, bedrooms, closet space.
Yeah, that's going to add value to a home. It's going to add GLA as well because that's gross living area.
Okay, without a means of ingress, egress.
Well, it's got the windows, right?
It's got windows.
It's got windows.
So they can get you outside of the window.
Okay.
They can get you from the outside of the window.
All right. Now,
So the biggest thing I would think is location, and square footage, right? Is that it?
Yeah, location, as well as GLA, which is the new proper term for square footage.
finished patio areas with outdoor kitchens,
Great features.
fire pits.
Yeah, are they going to be common to their competition? Like that's what it comes down to. When you're looking at one home, you got to be looking at a multitude of properties. They might be common in new construction.
Landscaping.
Adds value.
Okay.
More appeal than value. It's hard for an appraiser to go find comparable sales with landscaping. So anything that we add value to or we consider value for, the lender generally wants us to find a sale or two that has appropriate features to justify the amount of adjustment to the one that does not have that feature.
Okay, so I'm a two-story home, a 100-year-old home in a neighborhood comprised of many different types of structures, residential single-family units, couple 2 units, and the ranch across the street sold for $950,000. It was built in 2000. Now I'm a 100-year-old home, but mine is superior because I have granite, right?
Well,
Could you compare that ranch that was built in 2000? It's in my neighborhood. It's sold.
no. Like that's one of the misconceptions. It's apples with apples. So you would want to have a home that's sold that was built in a similar time, and you would want to have the amount of GLA within similar windows of that to be comparable. So you can have a $900,000 sale of a ranch across the street, and your 100-year-old beautiful 2-story that's twice the size of it. It should not come up on that comparable search, whether it's across the street or not.
But wait a minute, I got a Zestimate. I got a
That's
Zestimate.
right?
And who doesn't have a
I got
Zestimate
a-
nowadays?
I got a
Everybody gets
Zestimate and a smoothie. I know what my value is.
Okay. Along the same lines, the property across the street is a 2-story. Mine's a 2-story. Similar ages, right? Okay. That foreclosed. What happens to my value? Does it tank my value?
I don't believe that should. The proper way to do an appraisal, again, is to stay within the limits, to try to compare apples with apples. And good appraiser will have comparable search parameters to develop his methodology to arrive at a value. So that was probably not going to come up as a closed sale because it's not an arm's length transaction, and your home is up and running with utilities on, and that one isn't.
Describe what an arm's length transaction
really.
is, please.
An arm's length transaction is best described by both the seller and the buyer are knowledgeable of the market and willing to participate in the market.
Thank you. William Kelly, certified residential appraiser with John Ruddy Appraisal Services. How does someone get in touch with you?
I can be reached at my email, which is wkelly312@comcast.net. I can also be reached by phone, which is 570-471-3204, and also by phone at 570-344-6724.
Thank you, Bill.
Welcome.
Pat.
Yes, we have a 2-bedroom home on Scranton's East Mountain at 1416 Maple Street for $140,000. This well-maintained stucco home has a newer roof, ductless air conditioning, a large yard, a walk-in closet in the bedroom, and this home is just waiting for your personal touch. It sits on a 40 by 150 lot with a detached 2-car garage and plenty of off-street parking. That's a 2-bedroom home on Scranton's East Mountain at 1416 Maple Street for $140,000, and that's listed by Phoebe Keating of our office.
Thank you, Pat. According to a recent survey, 76% of consumers with smart home technology are concerned about privacy.
As
Wow.
they should be, right?
Wow.
We had the guys from Mission Securities Technology. They say that stuff is very hackable,
Well, they often say, do you want convenience or security, Jackie?
right?
I say both.
We have a hockey puck thermostat, so I think we're good. They can't hack that.
59% are concerned their devices are spying on them or monitoring them. Hacking is another concern. 62% said they are most concerned about their security systems, cameras being hacked. Despite these worries, 60% of people think smart tech has made a positive impact on their life. 27% cite their security system camera as having the best impact, followed by 17% who said their TV, 12% who said their Amazon Alexa has positively impacted their life. 40% said they would not go back to their pre-smart home device days. They say their security system or television and doorbell are their top-rated devices. 1 in 5 in the study have 7 or more smart home tech devices. How many do we have?
I don't know.
Makes you think, right?
Yeah.
6% had none. TVs are the most common at 69%, followed by speakers at 45%, lights at 32%, doorbells at 29%. Nearly half of the consumers have 1 to 2 voice assistant-enabled smart devices, with the majority relying on Amazon's Alexa, followed by Apple's Siri, and the last in place is Google Nest. People reported they were willing to spend $2,500 on smart home technology. Nearly 2/3 said they want to invest in security and safety. 52% want to be able to control factors in their home when they're not there. 40% cite better overall living experience. The most wanted smart home technology?
The Ring doorbell?
Lighting.
Really?
Lights. Then the thermostat. 45% of consumers said their smart home technology makes them feel safer, even though they have privacy concerns. And they're not willing to give it up.
Right. We have cameras and all over the house, and we have the TV. I'm thinking about it. That's about it.
And well, we have our Apple phones, right, Siri?
Yeah, they say they're always listening, so.
We'll be back in a few minutes with more Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate on 94.3 FM The Talker. Don't go anywhere. In your past real estate experiences, did you find most agents were mediocre? At Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate, we defy mediocrity by being relentless. Don't settle for average. Contact the relentless at Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate. We have an excellent track record of serving the community for 50 plus years. Call 570-344-6724 or visit jruddy.com. That's jruddy.com. You're rejoining the Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate on 94.3 FM The Talker. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jackie Ruddy, broker, in with Pat Devaney, my husband, fellow realtor.
And we're back with Bill.
With William Kelly,
William.
certified residential appraiser with John Ruddy Appraisal Services. All right, let's turn the discussion back to the tax reassessment, which is occurring currently in Lackawanna County. Wayne County's wrapping it up, right?
Yes, Wayne County right now is at the point where they're getting ready probably to have the new taxation in place for next year.
Okay.
Well, these other counties do it periodically. We haven't done it in 50 some odd years.
Absolutely. I think the average county tries to get their county reassessed every 10 years. And
Okay.
we've been since,
We're a little
think
behind
it was
the curve.
1965. Yeah, it's over
Well,
10.
not too long ago, we were undergoing a reassessment, and it was aborted. You remember that?
I do remember that. It was aborted pretty far into the process.
Pretty far into the
Maybe
process.
70% of the way home, and they aborted it.
Right. So now here we are again. Do you see them aborting this one?
That I don't know. I'd hate to say I do, and I'd hate to say I don't, but hopefully not for the betterment of the area. Hopefully this one will come
Yeah, this
through.
one, it's got to go through.
All right. So we were talking the first show and last week, and then the first half of this show, talking about all the different things that you do as a certified residential appraiser and the standards that you're held to, correct?
Yes.
And so do we know if this Tyler Technologies, these people that are going to be arriving at these values for our homes, are they going to be held to the same standards as you?
Actually, I don't know. I don't believe that they will be held to the same standards as a certified
So is that
resident.
good or bad?
That is a tough question to answer, but I would think it's probably bad. It's got to be some form of misinformation somewhere for it to be two levels of thought process.
These people aren't coming into our homes.
They're not allowed. They're not coming in your homes.
Right. So they're going to be walking around and possibly engaging us in a conversation if we're home, right? Because they're going to want to know who's on
How
our
many
property.
people are home nowadays
All
from
right.
9 to 5?
Okay. And then we're going to be given these cards to fill in. Are we going to know how to fill these in? What do they say? And are they
So-
going to be confusing?
Yeah, well, I guess the whole process will be a little bit confusing, but hopefully we could bring a little light to that and make it better for the average taxable person in Lackawanna County. So I guess they'll be coming through the neighborhood, measuring homes. They'll be using some other offline or online sources to get some data as well. But they do have a card, I believe, that they will fill out. They will actually hand to you, or I'm not sure if they're going to mail you the card or if they're going to leave it in your mailbox the day that they're out measuring. And that particular card is going to have some data relevant to your property, and I could go over that data if you'd like.
Go ahead.
Sure.
And the data that's going to be on the card based on their prior reassessments is the number of living units, which is a pretty simple answer. If it's a single-family home, it's 1. And the number of living units generally relates to the amount of kitchens in your home. So if you have a multi-property and there's like 3 apartments, then you would select 3. If you just have a single-family residence, you would select 1. And then they would ask the style of home. Pretty simple there, colonial and
Traditional,
ranch, traditional, bi-level.
Two-
I mean, I think everybody that's a homeowner paying taxes in Lackawanna County knows what to call their house there. And then they'll ask approximate year built.
A lot of people don't know that. And they think they find that information on a deed. It is not on a deed.
Yeah, so maybe some MLS data, meaning when you bought your home, the realtor you bought it off might have some estimates. It's not a super big factor in the style of appraisals that I do, but with reassessment, they may be needing the year built a little more than me. I'm not sure. And then they'll ask you how many stories that is. Naturally, we know what stories their homes are. And then sometimes that gets a little confusing to some people, and to me, I don't quite get that. That, like, if you have a Cape Cod and someone will call it 1.5 stories, I just never got that, and hopefully I never will. I don't understand. Some people call 1.5 car garage. Like, I don't have a half car. I think Pat has a half car.
I do have a half car. I do.
But he is definitely a unique car owner at that. So it's very rare that there's a 1.5 story home. If there's a set of steps going up, it's a 2-story home. Pretty much that simple. And if
Well,
there's-
we could spend a whole show on 1.5 story homes, Bill, because of the slope of the roof. You can't consider that whole area on that second floor livable, usable space.
there you go. Then prove me wrong, and I'm okay with that. But you're still going up a full set of steps to get there.
Correct.
Whether it's an imprint of the first floor or not is another issue.
Okay.
And then the next particular line on the card, they're going to ask you if you have an attic or not. And they don't ask if it's finished. They just want to know if you have an attic. And then they'll want to know about your heating systems, and you basically tell them what type of heat you have. And they want to know if you have central air conditioning. And they also want to know your fireplace count. And on the other side of the card, they want your total room count. which a room count to an appraiser is total rooms. So
Okay, here we go with rooms. Our bathrooms, rooms. Our laundry rooms, rooms.
No.
Is a hall or a foyer a room?
no, no, and no. But to the average bear, that may be
See,
yes,
that's
yes, and no.
confusing.
Yes.
All right.
So rooms, bedrooms, bathrooms. Bathrooms are not considered in the total rooms. Bedrooms are considered in the total rooms. Living rooms, dining rooms, family rooms, dens, they're all rooms. Mud rooms is not a room. Foyer is not a room. Laundry room is really not a room. So these rooms, when you're filling out your card, should be the rooms, I'm guessing, based on the limited information I have from Tyler Technologies, that these are rooms that are above grade, meaning the rooms you live in. So the average home...
But the lower level's finished, and we spend 75% of our waking hours in the lower level.
Somehow this form and this questionnaire will catch up to that in a different fashion, but yes, they should be accounted for. But the average home in Lackawanna County, the original average home is pretty much 631. That means you have 3 bedrooms, you have 1 bathroom, and you have a living room, a dining room, and a kitchen. Now, we know that the homes have become a great place to elaborate and spend a ton of money on, and the room counts definitely have grown over the years, but that's the average room count.
How about a sunroom? That's a 3-season, no heat source room.
No heat, I wouldn't count it as a room. I would call it a porch.
Okay.
And then the next line on there, they will ask about half bathroom. So a half bathroom for the finance world would mean that it would have to have a toilet and it would have to have a sink to call it a half bathroom. From there, they'll ask you about your basement, if you have a full basement or a partial basement. There's many homes in Lackawanna County that have partial basements. This was some mining history in Lackawanna County, and these homes have had expansions in the 50s or when, I'm not exactly sure, 30s, and the back portion is where they put the newer kitchen, and they're not generally, but occasionally they are not on a full basement. So to have a full basement, your basement must underline your first floor. If there's a room or two that it doesn't have a basement, you have a crawl space there, then you would say you have a partial basement. And then they'll ask about basement garage spaces. That would mean that your car is in your basement, and that's the garage portion. And then they'll ask about finished basement. And I guess you would give them a percentage of how much of your basement is finished, which I guess is a little tricky for the average homeowner to understand how much of their basement is finished, because the average homeowner is not an appraiser. They're not a real estate agent. They're just a homeowner, and then they do whatever they do professionally. But that's a tricky area for the public to fill out. And the next question on the form would be total living area, which I'm trying to get to the bottom with Tyler Technologies on as well, to see if they're trying to combine anything. Just define total living area to the public better would help us.
Interesting, and thanks for helping us with some confusing items on that little card that we'll all be getting. Bill, how does someone get in touch with you, please?
I can be reached at wkelly312@comcast.net. I can also be reached at 570-471-3204 and also reached at 570-344-6724.
How do you fit into all of this? Is there something that you can do to help the general public if someone has a problem with their tax reassessment?
Absolutely. An appraisal's role in this is going to be very big. We will be able to do appraisals to contest new values. If you are unsatisfied with the current reassessment, then they can engage in a formal review. They would do Tyler Technologies basically claims this is a mass appraisal. They know there's going to be errors when they're done here. So they will give you a chance to do an informal appeal to try to clean up the areas and then come up with a new number. But beyond that, if you're still not satisfied with the informal review, you can do a formal appeal with the Board of Assessment, and that's when they may require an appraisal to support what you think is an appropriate value for your property.
William Kelly, Certified Residential Appraiser with John Ruddy Appraisal Services. Thank you. And thanks to our listeners who tuned in today. Remember to join us next Saturday at 11 a.m., Sunday at 11:30 a.m. for more of the Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate on 94.3 The Talker.